Hello everybody, today I'm going to be taking a look at the Goblin Ambush starter set for Kings of War by Mantic Games. So today I'm going to be taking a look at the Goblin starter set for Kings of War. So this is one of the ambush sets, so small scale games. Inside this you will receive 40 goblins, 2 mincers, the quick start rules and a little goblin guide. So, without further ado, we have got a big bag. Wow, that's a lot. Okay. So we have 2 bags for the mincers. We have 4 bags worth of goblins. We have our paper and our bases. So let's pop the plastic out of the way for the moment. Bases are 80 by 100 for the 2 goblin regiments, and if you pop them together, a horde, although if you're playing ambush, not allowed hordes. And then a 100 by 100 for the mincer, must be a mincer regiment, I believe. Might be a mincer troop. We'll see in a moment. So, Goblin Ambush starter set. Here are the instructions. Goblin infantry, head on the body, choice of 6 different arms depending on, 5 different arms depending on what you're doing. Bow or melee. The mincer, simple build, 6 stages to get it going, and some examples at the end. Sharpstick and spitter, which are the bowmen, and the mincer itself. So, they have here sharpstick, spitters, and mincer mob for the chariot, along with special rules. As you can see, 90 and 95, 185 plus 160, so 180, 280, 350-ish, 360. All the special rules pertaining to them there. So obviously they want you to build a regiment of archers, a regiment of spearmen. There is the option to make them into rabble as well, which are cheaper. No spears, just hand weapons. And then a troop of mincers, I was right, 2 models on the 100 by 100. So mincers come separately. So you can have a single mincer as a chariot base. You can have the mincer troop, or a mincer mob is actually a larger size. So I'll check that to see if that profile is right. That might be wrong. Time will tell. Although it does say troop size 2. So no, I think that's right. I'm just used to mincer mobs being 3. It also contains your quick start rules. So it is a little A5 booklet explaining what Kings of War is, how you play the game, what the terrain is, and has a scenario at the end for your first game. So Ambush uses the full Kings of War rules, but plays on a smaller table and plays with smaller forces. So the list building changes slightly. Units you couldn't normally take without unlocking, like troops, you're allowed to take, but at the same time it reduces the amount of some of the larger things that you can take. So hordes are out the window, legions are gone. It gives you the experience of playing Kings of War, so you can play a rank and file fantasy game without needing a full 2,000 point army to begin with. So there you go, 27 pages, and at the end, when you want to play more, there is a QR code to take you to the Mantic Companion, which has the full rules plus army building available. And you can even download the full background of Panathor and the fantasy world they have, which is like a 300-page PDF. So if you want to see where things fit in the world, which is always moving forward, you can do that from there. So we'll have a look at some of the plastics. First off, one of the mincer mobs, or mincers singular, I suppose it should be. So when you buy these as a single regiment, a single box, you have the option of building them as either a chariot or as a mincer. So this contains the components for both. So let's do a little setup. We have base, 2 wheels, 2 sides of the chariot, bump, bump, bump. Front of the mincer, I believe that's the rear of the mincer there. So, yeah, pops in. Nice bit of detail, some beaten metal work there. We have the front of the mincer. Then the engine, which is 1, 2 sides, a rear, a front. We have top of a smokestack and the smokestack itself. That connects your mincer to your chariot, and then that is the front of the chariot body. So, yeah, spiked hubcaps. So that is what you need for the mincer, which means these parts are surplus to requirement and can go straight into your bits box. So the yoke and haft of the chariot, the connector to attach it to the chariot body. You have a slightly different front for your chariot as well. And then you have 2 maw beasts. To pull the machine. So that's a nice set of bits. Maw beasts are particularly handy, actually, because presumably you could just put those into your maw beast pack if you're building mincers. So that's our first set of plastics. All hard plastic, but clipped off a sprue and bagged. So this isn't PVC, it is standard polystyrene. So your polystyrene cement will work for those. Move those aside and bring in one of our goblins. So, goblin bags contain 2 sprues. Each sprue lets you build 10 goblins. So the first sprue we have are bodies, 5 different bodies, pair of each. We have a little maw beast pup. And then we have our bows. And our hand weapons and some of the arrow hands as well, and our spears. These are, I believe, in pairs, so each arm is duplicated once. So you've got 5 different arms, but 10 of them in total. There is the reverse. So the goblin's wearing a kind of mixture of tunics and robes. There's somebody's kitchen knife tied to a spear. That's quite cute. And of course our quivers. If you are making chariots, then you'll just scoop a couple of these off to use as your crew. The second contains the rest of your hand weapons. Both maw pup heads, for there be a second maw pup body. And then a variety of goblin heads in a variety of forms. So some wearing ratkin helms, some wearing elf, abyssal dwarf. I think that's a Basilean men-at-arms. That's certainly a Basilean men-at-arms shield there. Some cobbled together, other little abyssally type ones as well. So a lot of options there. Nice mix of pieces, so you can make plenty differently. But, and the good thing is, you're only really gluing head and arms on and you're done. So the arms are attached to the shields. And when you're building a horde army like goblins, you do not want to be spending all day, every day, building each individual model in a variety of ways. So, let's have a quick look at them built then. All right, back and built. We're going to start with the mincers, since they are filth and every goblin player wants them. It is front heavy, so when you set it down, it will tip to that massive drill bit on the front. However, when you're gluing it together, that's not going to make a difference. The sides are interchangeable, so it doesn't matter what way around you put this front big shield. I did need to trim the plugs that go into the little holes on top of the chariot base because they were a little bit longer, and it was easier to trim it down than it was to drill it out. But otherwise, very nice indeed. As you can see, once they're on a base rumbling towards the enemy, they take up most of that room there. So they are a good $90 mil long. Well, let's call it 86 mil long. And then from top to chimney around 50 mil. Build very simple. It's all plastic, so cleanup was a doddle. In case you're wondering how they compare to the old ones, because I do have an old one. So there it is. If I pop it on the end, that turns it from a troop into a regiment. So, in fact, I'd have to do it the other way because I've got a big chunk of cork. So you can see from above there, size-wise, very comparable to the old one. The old one is just a bit flashier with the front of the drill section. Otherwise, the job's a good one. And the old one obviously is PVC, which not everybody is a fan of. So if you are getting a couple of these boxes, by the way, I would suggest base one set on the troop and then get 2 separate bases for the other 2, because then you can push them together to form a second troop anyway, or split them off to be individual, or tack one onto the side to make it into a regiment if you're looking to up the points for a game. Just my advice on that one. Next up, we have some goblins. I did not assemble all the goblins because I would have been here forever. However, the goblins went together toot sweet, no major issues. So we have a little spitter and then a couple of the sharp sticks. So your phalanx spear that they suggest you build. These are some of the tallest ones. So they are roughly 24 mil to eye level, and they look absolutely spot on, especially if they're ranked up coming towards you. They look great. I really love the sinister cartoon-like grimaces on their faces. And then I even built a couple as rabble. I know you shouldn't, but I did. The thing about this is, because they are based on footprint, you've got 40. You could quite happily put 13, and 14. So maybe do 2 units of 14 with spear, and then 1 unit of 13 as your spitters, and fill as much of the base as you can. Add some terrain, add some scenery parts, stretch your money a bit further. Squeeze another regiment out, or at the very least squeeze a troop out. But it's definitely a way to go when you've got the option of these. Speaking of squeezing stuff out of the box, I very quickly grabbed another base. This isn't the right size. This should be a cavalry base, another 10 mil back, a 50 by 125. However, these are the 4 spare chariot pulling mob beasts plus 2 of the 8 mob beast pups you get. And you could quite happily make a mob beast troop out of that, or 2, or get a regiment, a big cavalry regiment, put all of the little ones around the outside like yapping, and then put the big ones at the front, or, you know, whatever. But that's another 80 points for a troop, or 100 odd for the regiment. So again, squeeze more out of your box. The box is telling you to assemble 350 points worth of stuff, but really you could assemble what's that, 270, 160, 400, 500, 500 to 600 points could be got out of this box quite comfortably, between mob beasts, mincers and goblins. So yeah, why not give it a go? Try Ambush. So there we have it. A very solid starter set if you're planning on getting into Kings of War. And if you're planning on playing other fantasy games with it, a fantastically good value starter set. Multiple regiments, multiple big mincer machines, more pups, more beasts, more money. It's all great. I mean, every time I look at one of the Ambush starter sets, I look at it from a playability point of view and a cost point of view. And when you compare it to the regiments and how much it would cost you to buy the individual regiments, this one just knocks the socks off so many. The fact that you can squeeze the Maw beast regiment out of there by just some judicious use of beast and pups from the chariots and the goblins brews just adds another chunk, maybe 100 or so points of regiment there, or 160 if you're going to run in like a couple of troops. But it's great chaff. They do a lot of damage, more damage than most goblins do, to be fair. So yeah, really good, solid starter set for the goblins if you're just planning on getting into it. And really nice figures as well. I really like the look of the Mantic Goblins with their looted / robbed weaponry and armor that they have kicking off there. So yeah, great stuff to see from Mantic. And if you are planning on getting into Kings of War, Ambush is a terrific way of doing it. It gives you a real feel of how the game plays out without having to swamp yourself with a big buy-in right off the bat. So you can build gradually, and I think that's a terrific way of doing it. But let me know what you think below, and whether or not you think that Rob forced filth mincers in there before he left the company just so he had them for his goblins. I think that's exactly what he did, and then he got out while the going was good, so he wouldn't have to deal with the flack of people getting minced to death. Anyway, I'm going to head on. Bye-bye.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.